Well, guten Morgen from the banks of the Danube River. I'm here in Vienna. It's a little bit of a grey morning, and apologies if I sound a little bit bunged up. I'm not feeling fantastic, but never mind, I'm on holiday, so push through it. I didn't do this intro yesterday just because when I arrived from Athens I had very little sleep. It was an early flight, but didn't do too much apart from the Freud Museum and just had my first cassocrainer, I think, hot dog, which was amazing. But anyway, this morning been out exploring the city and decided to walk to the Danube, which wasn't as easy as I thought it might be. It's a little bit of a trek out of the city centre, and to be honest, the city don't really make that much of it. It's like the other side of a train track and a main road, so you kind of have to find your way across over a bridge, but it's very quiet down here as well. But anyway, this is the Danube, the second longest river in Europe after the Volga, and obviously I already knew that. I didn't just have to Google a little bit of research as I sat here. But anyway, so yeah, and this is the third on my multi-stop grand tour of Europe. So here today, Bratislava tomorrow. So yeah, plenty of video goodness coming your way. Watch out for it.
With the first stop being the home and now museum of Sigmund Freud. So yeah, it didn't arrive until Vienna until after lunch. So yeah, after getting some food, which I'll show you in a minute. My first port of call after checking into the hotel was a little bit of a pilgrimage as a psychology graduate, although don't ask my views on Freud's actual theories. But this is where he lived before moving to London. It's a bit bare bones, this museum, but it is one side of the apartment is where he lived and the other half where he practiced. This is the waiting room, so this does have some original furniture, and then the courtyard out there. But then as you move into this room is the treatment room. So this is where the famous sofa would have been, up against that wall. But yeah, you have to use your imagination a little bit to try and imagine what that would have been like. And this absolutely fantastic hot dog here. And the Viennese trams all over the city. And yeah, a few shots of the main city centre. I don't know whether those lights are always there or whether they were starting to get ready for Christmas, but yeah, absolutely gorgeous wherever you look. As I say, the weather on this day alone really wasn't fantastic, but you can still make out really how traditional and how Austrian, I'm going to use for want of any better words. The city centre is, all the outdoor cafes, all of these fantastic statues and buildings, sort of mainly sort of early 19th century. A little bit of a wander through the streets. Don't ask me what these statues are now. I've done so much research for these videos. I'm sorry. But you can quite easily find out. Looking on Google Maps, this is just off the main square where St. Stephen's Cathedral is. See, I know that one, which is probably the most famous building in Vienna. But yeah, all of these shops and buildings and cafes, really, really evocative of the city. And there we go. There is the most famous site in Vienna, it would be argued. St. Stephen's Cathedral. Where they'd normally have sort of street food and things outside here, but as I say, a bit of a damp October day this one, so most people wandering around with umbrellas. But even so, I mean, I came back here a bit later on, which you'll see, when the weather was better, around the time of sunset, and the sunlight really captures that roof. Absolutely fantastic, awe-inspiring. And this is the anchor clock, which you can see the figures there in the middle of the clock. They change every hour. Sadly, I wasn't there at the turn of the hour, so I can't show you them changing, but still really, really impressive. And then this brings us on to the Prater, with the famous Riesengrad big wheel. So the Prater is like the amusement park and pleasure gardens right on the edge of the city. Loads going on there, like Blackpool Pleasure Beach, but a little bit classier. Not that I've got anything against Blackpool, but yeah, that was quite decent. And the big wheel was a big part of the movie The Third Man, and again the Bond film The Living Daylights with Timothy Dalton, almost like a Cold War icon, with Vienna being one of the last parts of the West, really, before he went behind the Iron Curtain into what was Czechoslovakia. Another little hot dog. Love how they sort of open up those bread rolls and shove them in there with mustard. Really good way of having a hot dog. And again, you can see it was grim weather. You can only imagine what this place is like in the height of summer. But actually, it really impressed me. I mean, when you go in, you just think, oh, it's a bit of a poor amusement park, but it goes on, quite far. Like I say, loads of rides. I would probably, compare it to Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Maybe there's a little bit more, not so many sort of white knuckle rides. Well, there's a couple there, but just a really nice family-friendly atmosphere. But as well as the rides and things, there's loads of sort of beer gardens and restaurants and things. So yeah, and further down into the Prater there is sort of mini golf and I think there's a planetarium, but definitely sort of more open spaces, parks and things. So it really is kind of Vienna's playground. So yeah, had a nice little beer while I was here as well, and then sheltered from the rain, obviously. And then, on the Riesengrad itself, you can make out the rain. I was a bit pondering whether I should come back when the weather was better, but I just went for it. And it was still really impressive. I'm just going to be quiet and show you some of the shots. You can't make out quite the skyline as you would do on a clear day, but still well worth the trip. And the other famous house to visit when you're in Vienna is the Mozart house, which is also a museum now. I didn't go in that one. But you can imagine, I don't think these streets have really changed that much since Mozart was a local lad. All these cobble streets and all these old buildings, really, really evocative of the period. If I had more time, I would have gone into that museum. But, I can't say that I'm much of a classical music boffin. So, it wasn't sort of top of my list. But if I went back again, I probably would check that out. And then this really, really pretty sort of covered arcade here. Again, you've got these cobble streets. And this little walkway comes out again on the main square in the shadow of the cathedral. Obviously, I was here in October, but I imagine obviously Christmas is a fantastic time to visit Vienna, all the Christmas markets and things. And I imagine this square is all lit up with lights. And I'm sure it looks gorgeous in December. And then this is the Hofburg, which is one of several palaces in the main city. And there's a confectioner's staircase there, apparently, where the confectioners delivered the little treats. And talking of treats, apple strudel and a coffee with cream in traditional Viennese coffee house. This is probably as traditional as you could get. It's absolutely gorgeous. And more food for you. The schnitzel, got to be done. Absolutely lovely. And now you can see the weather's improved. This is the following day. And this is Bratislava with the UFO bridge. Bratislava is much closer to the Danube than Vienna is, makes more of it, I'd say. And then Bratislava Castle up on the hill there. But yeah, Bratislava is absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, another cathedral. So this is St. Martin's Cathedral. As you can see, the architecture, although Vienna and Bratislava are less than an hour away by car and have been known as twin cities for most of their history, obviously it's the capital city of Slovakia, and what was Czechoslovakia was obviously with the Cold War behind the Iron Curtain. Has a very different feel. And this is, I'll butcher the language, Kumil, I think, this also modern art statue. It's become one of the sort of famous sites of Bratislava. And yeah, the main square, as I say, really, really pretty. Just feels very, very different to Vienna. Much more sort of Central European, I'd say, much more sort of like Prague than Vienna. Feels more like Germany, which is, I suppose, understandable. It's not massive, Bratislava. I mean, I had intended on coming for the full day. It was Sunday, so it was quite quiet. But I kind of felt after looking around the old town and having a little wander around, having some food, that, you know, being by myself and not planning on going to museums and things, with it being a Sunday, there was enough to see, I think, to make it worth, you know, a 4 or 5 hour day trip. And yeah, that lunch of sort of dumplings and sheep's cheese and bacon and nuts was very traditional Slovakian and really, really nice. And obviously the Slovakian beer. But yeah, as I say, I left relatively early to be back in Vienna to make the most of the lovely weather and revisiting some of the sites from the previous day in the sunshine. As you can see, quite a difference. Golden hour, that sunset kind of reflecting off the roof there of St. Stephen's Cathedral. Some kind of demonstration going on. I'm not sure. My German wasn't good enough to pick up what they were protesting against. Well, just packing up, ready to leave. Well, I've got another morning of the last bits of sightseeing in Vienna, then off my afternoon flight. But I couldn't leave without a little room review. This is the Hotel Graf Stadion in Vienna, and it's a nice hotel. Yeah, it's very sort of oldie worldy. As you can see, some wooden floors and some old school radiator action. There's the window opening out onto the street, and then there is the kind of main street out there that the trams go on. So we're all very close, just behind the rat house. So as you can see, there are 2 small single beds, but you can push them together. So that's what I've done. I mean, and they're kind of quilts, not sheets. So I've definitely had a better night's sleep here, I think, than the other 2 places. But yeah, I mean, it's a small room, it's fairly basic, but it does the job. Nice high ceilings, amazing old school lifts, which you'll have seen, I think. Bathroom is fine. All very clean. There's me again. Decent shower. I do like a bath, but then again, the one in Athens was like a tiny little bath, so you could kind of like hunch up in it. But yeah, again, I have never switched on the TV. Never do on holiday trips. Don't know why. I was just sitting and watch YouTube on my iPad or whatever. But anyway,
there we go, the Hotel Graf Stadion. I am going to check out, see the last bit of Vienna, and then get myself home.
And yeah, this lift was original sort of 1910, real highlight of the hotel. And yeah, a few more shots of the trams, which are everywhere in Vienna. There's kind of the newer ones, and then these much more reminiscent of the Cold War. So I don't know when they date back to, but yeah, certainly the ones that you see in the Living Daylights and things. Considering the first time I got on one, a very attractive young lady with a cello got on next to me, which if you've seen that movie, did make me chuckle a little bit and obviously feel like I was James Bond. Anyway, there's the modern ones there in the background. I mean, why anyone would want to go on those when you can ride these retro beauties is beyond me. That was the kind of Parliament building behind. And then, yeah, got a little trip out to the suburbs to see probably the other main site of Vienna next to the cathedral is the Schönbrunn Palace. Again, apologies for my German, but this was, yeah, absolutely amazing. I'd say there's 3 or 4 palaces throughout Vienna, but this is the biggest. I can't quite recall if this was the Winter Palace or the Summer Palace, but either way, it's absolutely stunning, enormous. You can walk around the gardens completely free. There's all this parkland, lovely walks, lovely gardens. I didn't go in. You can go in, you can tour the whole palace, which I'm sure is probably a day's worth of exploration. But yeah, didn't really have the time. Kind of the inside of stately home is not really my thing, but yeah, to visit it outside, obviously this gorgeous fountain. This is the front aspect, I think, of the palace. But yeah, definitely worth it on my last kind of morning before getting my flight home. And then the final stop before heading back was the Naschmarkt, which is a really, really cool outdoor market. But yeah, that brings to a close my European mega tour of 6 cities and 4 countries, I think. Quickly checking. Really hope you've enjoyed the videos. It was an amazing trip. Thanks for coming along with me. And hopefully there'll be some more travels along soon in 2023.